time convolution property of Fourier transform. Time convolution property. Okay, so please understand that this is a very important property of Fourier transform. Okay, quite useful, and the digital filters etc that you see today, they are actually a direct result of this particular property of Fourier transform. Okay, so let us see how does it work. Okay, so before understanding actually the time convolution property, we have to understand what is actually the convolution. Okay, so whenever we want to find the response of a system, try to understand, we have a system. Okay, and we are giving a input signal x of t, and we want to know the output signal y of t. Okay, then what we could do is we could use convolution. That is a method to find the output, obviously. So there are actually two methods to find the output. The first method is obviously by solving the differential equation, or if it is a discrete time system, the difference equation. I think you must have studied about it in the mathematics, difference equations and differential equations. So if you solve the differential equation of this system, obviously you will be getting the output. That is one way to get the output of the system, but that is a very complex way. Okay, see, there is another way. If provided your system is linear time invariant. Okay, so if your system is linear time invariant, or LTI, okay, LTI system, then you could use the method of convolution. So what we do in convolution is we divide the input signal into elementary signals, okay, which is basically impulse in this case. Okay, and we apply this to the system. And if we know the response of the system to impulse, okay, which is obviously the impulse response, if we have the impulse response of the system and we know the input signal, okay, the impulse response is normally denoted as h of t. Okay, and so if we know the input signal x of t and the impulse response h of t, then if we do a process which is called your convolution, okay, which is denoted like this, star denotes the convolution, then we will be getting the output signal which is your y of t. Okay, so this is another process. This is quite easier process, as you will see. Okay, so this is only a way to find the response of a linear time invariant system. So let me write here what is convolution and how it is performed. Okay, so the convolution of two functions. So one of the functions is your input signal here, and the other function is your impulse response. Okay, so the convolution of two functions, that is your g of t and w of t. Okay, if g of t is the input, then w of t might be the impulse response. So it is denoted by your g of t star, star stands for convolution, w of t. Okay, so is defined by the integral, is defined by the integral. Okay, how it is evaluated? It is evaluated like this, by the integral g of t convolution with w of t is equivalent to integral from minus infinity to infinity. Okay, then g of tau. Okay, the variables have been changed. G of tau w of t minus tau d tau. Okay, so what does this mean? You know, practically what does this mean? So what you are essentially doing is, okay, let's say this is your signal g of t. Let's say this is your signal g of t. Okay, let's say this is 0, and then you have the w of t. Okay, w of t. So Your W of t is, let's say, like this, is a signal, let's say something like this. Okay, so what you are essentially doing, you are just shifting this W of t. This is your W of t, this is your G of t. So what you have done, just see in this equation, you have kept G of tau fixed, and then what you are actually varying is this W of t. You are varying actually by how much? See, this is actually W of t minus tau. So what you are essentially doing, you are actually, uh, when you are finding G of tau, this will be as it is. So this one will be G of minus tau. Okay. So if it is minus tau, then it will be just the mirror image of it. Okay. It will just be the mirror image of it. Whatever, let's say this signal was like this, then the mirror image will be like this, in this way. So once you are finding the mirror image, then you are shifting it towards the left as well as right. So these are the positions to which you will be shifting. I am showing it in dotted lines. So these are the positions to which you are essentially shifting it. So one by one positions you are shifting, then you are multiplying it with G of tau, and then you are summing it. That is what you are actually doing. So why do we do all these things? This is in order to find the output of a linear time invariant system. Got it? This is one way we could find the output of a linear time invariant system. So let me write that also. You could note it. The main purpose of convolution is in describing the output of a linear time invariant system. Got it? So the input output behavior, okay, the input slash output behavior of an LTI system, of an LTI, linear time invariant, in short is LTI system, can be characterized by its impulse response, by its impulse response. Obviously, impulse response is response to impulses. Okay, and the output of an LTI system, and the output of an LTI system for any input signal G of t can be expressed as the convolution of the input signal, convolution of the input signal with the system impulse response, with the system impulse response. Okay. So if you have a input signal and you have the impulse response, you could always find out the output of that system. Okay. So now let us go to the time convolution property. Okay. So the time convolution property, the time convolution property and its dual, and its dual is actually the frequency convolution property, is the frequency convolution property. So state that Let's see what are their statements. What does they state? So if your g1 of t is there, and after Fourier transform, your g1 of t can be written as how much? G1 of t after Fourier transform is how much? Can you tell me? Any answers?
G1 of F.
Capital. Yeah,
Capital
g1
G.
of f, or we could write it as g1 of omega, right? So it will be capital G, right? So g1 of omega. Let us write g1 of omega. We could always write g1 of f also. So similarly, g2 of t after Fourier transform is capital G2 of omega. Okay. Then by the time convolution property, by your time convolution property, your g1 of t, okay, convolution with g2 of t is actually after Fourier transform is actually your g1 of omega multiplied with g2 of omega. Okay. So what you are doing here, do you understand? That means g1 of t convolution with g2 of t in the time domain. Try to understand this expression. It has a lot of meaning actually. So here you could see uh, this thing is in the time domain, okay, and this thing is in the frequency domain. What does this mean? When you are convoluting a signal in the time domain, that is similar to just multiplying the two signals in the frequency domain. So let's say you have a signal g1 of t, and let's say g2 of t is the system impulse response, okay, and you are just trying to find the output by convoluting it in the time domain. Then this will be just similar to just multiplying their respective Fourier transforms in the frequency domain. It is as simple as that. So this kind of result has a lot of actually implications. Okay, can you think of any implications or any use of this property? Any idea you could suggest? Do you find any idea or any use of this particular property? Any answers? You could try. What could be the use of this property? I have already told that G1 of t is basically one input signal, and G2 of t in this case might be the impulse response of a system, and we are trying to find the output of a system. Okay, and if we take the respective Fourier transforms of these, we could just multiply them in the frequency domain, and we could get the same response. So what could be the implications of this? Any implications you could think of? Tell me. See, this is the property, okay. As I told you in the beginning, this is the property that has revolutionized the area of your digital signal processing. You see, when you are trying to find the output of a response system, this is the input signal, and this is the system which is having the impulse response g2 of t. The process involves a lot of things. Okay, let's say this is the output y of t. Okay, so this process involves a lot of things. What you are essentially doing is, if this is your signal g of t, and let's say this is your impulse response, let's say this is your impulse response, uh, just a minute. Yeah, let's say this is your impulse response, so what you are essentially doing, you are first you are shifting it in this way. First you are finding the mirror image of it, and then you are shifting its position. Initially this position was this much, then you will shift it towards the left, to minus infinity, then you will be shifting it towards the right, towards the plus infinity, uh, in this way, and then you will be multiplying this thing with this. Okay, and then you will be integrating it and you will be getting the response or the output of the system. So in place of that, if you use this property, what you have to essentially do, you have to take the Fourier transform of this signal. So the Fourier transform may come like this, something like this. Similarly, you have to take the Fourier transform of this signal, which will obviously come something like this. Okay. So once you get these two, you could just multiply these two. Once you multiply these two, let's say you are getting a signal like this. Okay. So you are getting a signal like this after multiplying this. Then what you do is you try to find the inverse Fourier transform. Once you get the inverse Fourier transform, the signal that you will be getting, okay, the signal that you will be getting is the output of this system. It is as simple as that. You will be astonished to know that the digital filters that you use on your mobile phone, the graphic equalizers, etc., they work on this principle, exactly on this principle. Okay, this on this principle. So I think have you read about microprocessors? There is this frequency convolution property. Frequency convolution. So it is just the dual of the time convolution. Okay. So what does this say? This means your g1 of t, this says your g1 of t multiplied with g2 of t in the time domain is equivalent to, taking the Fourier transform, is equivalent to 1 by 2 pi times your g1 of omega convolution with your g2 of omega. So we could say that multiplication in the time domain is convolution in the frequency domain. Similarly, the other property said convolution in the time domain is multiplication in the frequency domain. Okay, so here it is like this. So remember one more thing, that if I had represented this g1 of omega, g1 of omega in terms of g1 of f and g2 of f here, then this 1 by 2 pi will not be required. Got it? So now let us try to prove the time convolution property. Okay, and I will leave it up to you to prove the frequency convolution property. You will do it yourself. So let us prove the time convolution property. So by definition, okay, we know that the Fourier transform of your g1 of t convolution with g2 of t could be written in this way. First, we will write the convolution formula, which we already know. It is actually your integral from minus infinity to infinity, g1 of tau, then g2 of t minus tau d tau. Okay, so this was the formula for convolution. Now we have to take Fourier transform of this. Okay, so that means let me just keep it inside a square bracket. Okay, and then let me take the integral from the outside, integral from minus infinity to infinity. Then I will multiply e to the power minus j omega t, okay, dt. So this is the normal way we use to find the Fourier transform. So why we have written it in this way? Because we are trying to find the Fourier transform of g1 of t convolution with g2 of t. That's why. Okay. So now what we could do is, see, in this case, we could just change the order of the integral. Okay. So this integral which is outside, let me show you. So this integral which is outside, which I have marked in this orange color, I will take it inside, and the integral which you see inside, okay, this one which I have marked in green, I will take it outside. Let us do that. Okay, so just it will look like this. So this will be equal to your integral from minus infinity to infinity, okay, g1 of tau. See, I can actually change this order because the variables are actually different, and one is tau, the other is t, and I can do that. That's why. So it will be integral from minus infinity to infinity, g1 of tau. Okay, then I will keep a square bracket here. Then integral from minus infinity to infinity. Okay, g2 of t minus tau. Okay, then e to the power minus j omega t dt. So I have brought this inside. Then let me keep the bracket here, and then d tau. Got it? So now you could see that the inner integral is the Fourier transform of g2 of t minus tau. Got it? Just look at this inner integral, this one. Okay. So what you see here, you see there is a signal called g2 of t minus tau, and e to the power minus j omega t is multiplied with it, and the integral is from minus infinity to infinity, which means this is nothing but the Fourier transform of g2 of t minus tau as per our understanding. Okay. So what we could simply do here is we could use the time shifting property of Fourier transform. Okay, and you will tell me what will be the if your g2 of tau has some particular Fourier transform, g2 of t has some Fourier transform, your g2 of omega, what will be the Fourier transform of g2 of t minus tau, you will tell me. Okay, let me write it here, then you will tell me what it is. You try to find it out. So the inner integral is the Fourier transform of g2 of t minus tau. Okay. So given by your time shifting property of Fourier transform as in the
Right.
frequency domain, e to the power minus j omega t will be multiplied. So in this case, you see there is this tau is present in place of that capital T. Let me just write the formula here for your understanding, and I think that way it will be easier for you. So it was like this: x of t minus small t minus capital T after Fourier transform will be how much? X of omega e to the power minus j omega t. So this e to the power minus j omega t was being multiplied. But here you could see that in place of that capital T, in place of x it is g2, and in place of capital T it is tau. So that means what we will be getting, we will be getting here g2 of omega, okay, e to the power minus j omega tau. Got it? Let me erase this property here from here. Okay. So now let us put that uh, like inside that bracket, what that, let us replace that integral and let us put this value there. Okay, so if we just do that, we could write it as Fourier transform of g1 of t convolution with g2 of t, okay, is equal to integral from minus infinity to infinity g1 of tau. It was as it is, it is as it is. Then the next one is your g2 of omega, okay, then e to the minus j omega tau d tau. Got it? Now there is one more thing that you could see, that g2 of omega is independent of tau. Okay, this integral is with respect to tau, and g2 of omega is independent of this tau. So it could always move out of this integration. Okay, so I can write it like this: g2 of omega integral from minus infinity to infinity g1 of tau into e to the power minus j omega tau d tau. So look at this integral. Does it look familiar? So it will be your, this particular integral with will be your g1 of omega. Okay, so let me write it here: g1 of omega. That means this property is proved, isn't it? I can easily now write that Fourier transform of g1 of t convolution with your g2 of t is equivalent to how much? G1 of omega multiplied with g2 of omega. So it is as simple as that. So this is the time convolution property of the Fourier transform, a very useful property which is in use in a lot of devices that we use today. Okay. So let me give you a question, try to solve it. So let us do some questions on Fourier transform and then we will go to modulations. Okay. So find, sometimes you may get a question like this. Last time examination, we got a question like this. Okay. So find the Fourier transform, FT in short is Fourier transform of gate function. Okay. Shown below. So a gate function is given and you have to find the Fourier transform of it. So normally, see, what is a gate function? Let me explain and then we will do this Fourier transform. So it is represented like this. A gate function is represented like this. X of t is equal to RECT, rect t by tau. So if it is written like this, what does this mean? You know, this means this is equal to your, it is equal to your 1, okay, for minus tau by 2 is less than t is less than tau by 2 and it is 0 otherwise. Okay. So what does this mean? You know, it means it is just a pulse. Okay. It is just a pulse of width. How much? Tau. If the width is tau, that means it will be from minus tau by 2 to tau by 2. Okay. And its strength is 1 in this case. However, if I had written here in place of this only rect, if I had written, let's say 8 rect t by tau, then in place of 1 I would have written 8 here. Got it? So sometimes you may get questions like this also, or sometimes they may ask you that it is a gate function of amplitude 8 volts and width is this much, the 10 seconds. Okay. So you could get that kind of questions also. So if they tell you its width is 10 seconds, it will be from minus 5 to 5 seconds. You could take it that way. Okay. Did you get it? What is a direct, what is a gate function? So let us now try to uh, find the Fourier transform of this function. Okay. So we will use our normal formula which we usually use. Okay. So the Fourier transform is given by your capital X of omega is equal to Fourier transform of x of t, okay, which is equal to integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e to the power minus j omega t dt. This is our normal formula. Then in place of x of t, we will be putting the this value that we have here. Okay, I am highlighting it. So this value we will be putting. So you could see that this integral will reduce from minus infinity to infinity to minus tau by 2 to tau by 2. Okay, and x of t will be how much? 1 during the duration. So we could write it in this way: integral from minus tau by 2 to tau by 2. It will be just 1 into e to the power minus j omega t dt. You could now easily solve it. Just solve it and let me know what you are getting. Okay, so do it now and tell me how much you are getting. So if we integrate it, okay, that integral from minus tau by 2 to tau by 2 1 multiplied with e to the minus j omega t dt. So it will be equal to how much? It will be equal to e to the power minus j omega t by minus j omega, and we will put the limits minus tau by 2 and here we will put tau by 2. Okay, so lower limit is this and upper limit is tau by 2. So here we could just use that property that your 2j sine theta, okay, is equal to e to the j theta minus e to the power minus j theta. So this is the property that we will be using. Okay. So if you put the limits there, you will be getting it this much. You will be getting e to the power j omega tau by 2 minus e to the power, if, like I am just talking about this, uh, the limits, putting the limits in that e to the power j omega t. So it was j omega tau by 2 minus if the minus j omega tau by 2 is there, so we could always write it as 2j sine omega tau by 2. Okay, so this thing we will be using in the above integral. So if we use it in the above integral, okay, we put the limits in this uh, here. If we put the limits and then we express it in this way, okay, then we could write it as your capital X of omega is equal to 1 by j omega will be there outside, then 2j sine omega tau by 2. Okay, so this much you will get. Now this j will be, I think, cancelled, and we will be in at last getting 2 sine, okay, omega tau by 2 by omega. Now see, we have to actually express it in the form of sinc. Got it? So if we want to express this in the form of sinc, so whatever is there inside that sine, okay, so those things we have to multiply in the numerator as well as denominator, and then only we will be able to express this in the terms of sinc. Okay, so we could write it as, so if you could just multiply that, we could write it as tau, okay, then sine omega tau by 2 whole by omega tau by 2. Okay, so omega tau by 2 we have multiplied in the numerator as well as denominator. So if you multiply, you will get up to this. So which is now equal to your tau sinc, okay, omega tau by 2. So this is what we will be getting. Okay, and now we will be putting the value of omega here. Okay, so omega is equal to, actually in this case it is equal to plus minus 2n pi by tau. Okay, and here your n is equal to 1 2 3 likewise, and dot 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 dot. Now we know that the property of sinc is that your sinc of x is equal to 0 when your x is equal to plus minus n pi. This is a property of this sinc. Then here we are saying that it is nothing but it is your sinc omega tau by 2. Okay, so this must be also equal to 0. Okay, when your x is equal to how much, plus minus n pi. That means we could also write that when your omega tau by 2 is equal to
So
plus
that will
minus
be
n
sync
pi.
there.
Yes, yes. Oh, sorry,
That
sinc. Yes, yeah, sinc. So sinc omega tau by 2 will be equal to 0 when what is inside this bracket, this omega tau by 2 is equal to plus minus n pi. So we could always write it in this way, that your omega is equal to, in such a case, omega is equal to plus minus 2n pi by tau. Got it? So now we could also plot this signal. We could easily plot this signal because we already know at which locations it will be 0. So let me just plot it. Omega is equal to plus minus 2n pi by tau. So let me plot it in this way. So let it be 0. So you see uh, where are the values when it is 0? Plus minus 2n pi. So plus minus 2n pi means, let me write it here, plus minus 2n pi by tau. So these are the first positions. When your n is equal to 1, it will be 2, just a minute. Yeah, it will be 2 pi by tau, and on the other side minus 2 pi by tau. Similarly, when it is 2, n is equal to 2, it will be equal to 4 pi by tau. On the other side, it is minus 4 pi by tau. So in this way, this goes on, and we have already seen that there is a tau outside. You could see there is a tau outside. That means the amplitude. Okay, tau is outside. That means the amplitude of this sinc function is how much? Tau. So let me just draw it. So this sinc function will look like this. So this is your tau, okay, and then it will be like this. Okay, so this will be 6 pi by tau, and it will also go to the this side. Okay, so this is your minus 6 pi by tau. So what did you see here? That we try to find the Fourier transform of a gate function whose width was tau and the height or amplitude was strength was 1, and we got a sinc function like this. So you have seen the time convolution property, and you have uh, also seen the duality or symmetry property. So using that, you find the Fourier transform of e to the power j omega ct. Okay, you find it. Huh? Question is find Fourier transform of your e to the j omega ct. Omega c is subscript and then t. Okay, using your duality and your uh, uh, frequency shifting property. So let me just give you a hint here, and it will be easier for you to do it. So do one thing, just assume that it is not only your e to the power j omega ct, it is 1 multiplied with e to the power j omega ct, and I think you know like what is the Fourier like what is, one is the Fourier transform of which signal. So now if you could use the duality property and then the frequency shifting property, you could easily find it out. So you have to first understand what is the duality or symmetry property and what is this frequency shifting property. Let me just rewrite these properties and then we will be doing it. Okay. So we have known that if your x of t, okay, the Fourier transform of x of t is capital X of omega, then we know that capital X of t, the Fourier transform of capital X of t is how much? 2 pi times, okay, x of minus omega. However, if your x of omega is even, okay, x of minus omega is equal to your x of omega, then that will be only for even functions. Then we could write it as x of t, capital X of t. After Fourier transform, it will be 2 pi times x of omega. Got it? 2 pi times x of omega. So simply, we have in the earlier class found out that the Fourier transform of del of t, okay, which is the unit impulse, is actually equal to 1. Got it? So that means if somebody asks you to find the Fourier transform of 1 del of omega, because we know that your del of t is like this, del of t is like this. Even if you take the mirror image of it, del of omega and del of minus omega, they all will be same. So we could write it like this. Okay. Now see, let us come to this question now. 1 multiplied with e to the power j omega ct. So now we come to the frequency shifting property. The frequency shifting property says, let me just write it here. The frequency shifting property says your e to the power, just a minute, e to the power j omega 0 t into your x of t after Fourier transform is capital X of omega minus omega 0. Got it? So here you see you have e to the power j omega ct. Okay. So e to the power j omega ct, okay, uh, multiplied with 1 after Fourier transform will be how much? 2 pi times how much? Del of, tell me, 2 pi times del of how much? Omega
Omega.
minus omega c, this much. Got it? See, this result has a big implication. This result that you found out here has a very big implication. See, if it is your e to the j omega ct, then it will be 2 pi times del of omega minus omega c. Similarly, if I have e to the minus j omega ct multiplied with 1, obviously the Fourier transform will be how much? 2 pi times, okay, del of, okay, omega plus omega c. So it will be like this. Okay, and if you could recall, your uh, let's say you have cos omega ct, then you could always write it as, okay, as your e to the power j omega ct plus e to the power minus j omega ct by 2. Do you remember this? We could always write it in this way: cos omega ct is equal to pi times how much?
Del omega plus omega c
Yes,
plus del omega minus omega c.
del of omega minus omega c. See, this result has a very big implication. So if you have a, just a minute, we have to write it in this way, not equal to sign. Equal to sign will not be there. Okay, so see, if you have a cosinusoidal waveform, cosinusoidal means it will be like this. So if you have a cosinusoidal waveform like this, and you are trying to find the Fourier transform, then in the frequency domain, it will be like this. It will be simply two impulses. One will be at del of omega minus omega c, del of omega plus